And now I would like to conclude my yarn with my poor imitation of the French-Canadian Courrier de Bois. Of course, Her Royal Majesty, Queen Victoria, sends the people of Canada her deepest condolences, wrought on the surprising and tragic death of the bloody Prime Minister who just up and expired right there in her damn castle. They say it was a big, huge, massive heart explosion. It put London in a grand tizzy for a beat, but the good Queen had him mortified or whatever with that embalming stuff. You know. Then the Queen had a big, extravagant funeral in the big church cathedral, and everybody who was somebody was there. Cousin the Queen was the hostess. Thankfully, his daughter, Muriel, was there so she could add her tears to those of the huge, notable congregation. She was his only kin to funeralize him there in London. Anyway, can you conjure? The Queen hop and shipped him back home to Halifax in a battleship she ordered swabbed with black. You know, like with no sun for the soul home occasion. Half no doubt about it, the great Wat Mother was grieved by the young Prime Minister. He was only 49 years old, and his bloody unexpected kicked the bucket than anyone, and she cried a bucket of tears too. When that big tin black battleship, the HMS Bellina, had arrived in the harbour, everybody in town was there to see it, and so too was his family. But everyone wanted to be there. It was a very big thing in town that day. Being as he was back home, they had another big cry in the St. Mary Cathedral, and his wife Annie and his 7 children, they was there. And they was in charge of leading the crying. Evidently they did a good job, but run out of parched hankies before the crying was done. After they carried him a half-mile to the hole in the ground with those slow widow steps. Like that. You know. And boy, there were people there. And those military men lined the route shoulder to shoulder on both sides of the route. Oh, and the boys from the battleship sure enough looked good in their Navy uniforms. And behind them, the crowd was deep. 10, 12, 18 people, maybe more. And they was all crying too. I tell you, the hanky was the popular thing that day. And you could no buy them nowhere. And sure enough, it was a sunny day. It was the people that made the rain that day. Then they went and buried him over there in the Holy Cross Cemetery. Methinks they buried him a beat too deep. He is so deep and so long gone that they don't know who he is, as the old Salts-a the Sea would exclaim. That is a holy bejeebers of a yarn. That should have been the fish story half the century, or maybe all the time there. Well, no, it isn't. It is actually the stone cold true maritime fish yarn that actually happened. It is true, truly the biggest fish yarn in the history of fish yarning. Now I wonder, I really, really wonder, can you name that minster? I know. Like this man was the pillar of the Canadian nation, the leader, the president, the presidente, the king. So I know he was the prime minister, but that's the same damn thing. And furthermore, he loved the country, and the country much loved him in his time. He's the Abraham Lincoln Dory of Canada, and nobody know who he is? Strange. No, you think? And that's a story worthy of Lane's Believe It or Not. And that is one of 99 unbelievable yarns in my yarn book, Stories from the Heart of Canada by me, Lane, Skip the Roberts. And that's all, folks. Or until our obscure Canadian Prime Minister gets the recognition he so richly deserves. Our forgotten leader, may he become fondly remembered, for he was certainly a majestic, illustrious manner by which he departed into obscurity. This is my last mission in life, to make you, my fellow Canadians, to hearken back to a distant and regal time that should be remembered, especially on this day, the 12th of December. Au revoir, mes amis.